Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shelley, and today we're going to discuss what to do and not to do on our resumes. So, as we discussed yesterday, I want to do a quick recap. We talked about how hard it is to get into the field right now, to get positions, to apply for jobs, and how the market is just ridiculously packed out, and what we can do to help ourselves to kind of get ourselves a little bit above what the world and all the other employees are looking for and the employers are looking for. So one of the things that's super important is our resume. Our resume is what the company looks at. It's what the hiring manager looks at. It's what you send to your recruiters. It's a super important part of the hiring process, of applying for any position. Even if you're coming right out of college and going into your first position, or people that are mid in their career and they are looking for a job out there and they need to find a position. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at my resume. So when I was first laid off from my first company back in 2010, when I was a government contractor, and I had no clue what to do. I had no idea where to go. I didn't realize that there were two types of resumes. I didn't realize that there was a resume for the government, and then there was a personal resume for, companies like GM or Walmart or Target, any of those players. So what I did was I hired someone. I didn't know at that time anything about it. This was before I taught resume writing classes. This was before I really looked into writing a resume. So I went ahead and I hired someone. I paid them $500. Now, that is a lot of money when you are just laid off of work and you don't have a paycheck, and you're already looking at your finances and stressing out about life in general and how you're going to afford food for your family, car insurance, any regular bills, your electric, your house payment, and it's scary. So what I did was I took my knowledge of someone writing that resume and actually started sharing it with people. That way, everyone could have a free way of looking at resume without having to pay $500 like I did. Now, there are companies out there that'll charge $100. There are some AI companies out there that I don't even know how they do it, but they look at your resume and they go ahead and give you a resume back. I don't know if there's writers behind the scene. I know there are cheaper ways to go. There is this one app, and everything is $5, and you can have them write resume, papers, whatever you need. There's somebody out there that will do this for $5 or whatever they're bidding. So I'm going to go ahead and share my resume and my experiences, and then if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, as always, you can DM me. I will be putting this on my YouTube channel. My YouTube is in my TikTok profile. You'll be able to, if you click on me, you will see my YouTube channel in there, and then you can rewatch this video. So let's take a peek at page 1. My resume is pretty extensive due to the fact that I've always been a contractor. Every position I've ever had is contracting. Another big thing with writing your resume is you don't want to go past 10 years of employment. Most employers want the most recent to 10 years being the max. So I make sure that I do not go past that area, especially because we're older, right? So I'm at 47 years old. I've had a job since I've been 15, since I was 15 years old. But they don't want to know what I was doing at 15. They don't want to know I worked at McDonald's. They don't want to know that I was babysitting Summers Monday through Friday from 5 a.m. until 6 p.m. and, bringing home tiny amounts of money. They don't want to know any of that. They want to know what specifically you have done in your life towards the position that you're applying for. Okay? And you may have to taper every resume you send out. You may have to taper it a little bit to that job specifically. So on my resume, I don't put every teeny tiny detail. If I did, it would be 23 pages long and nobody's going to look at that. So what I try to do is, if they're looking for certain experience that I know I've had, I will add it to my skills and abilities, or I will add it to one of my positions that I previously had that did that type of work. That way, you're not lying. You never want to lie to the employer, because when you're hired, they're expecting you to do that job. They're expecting you to walk in and have that capability of doing that position right off the bat. Yes, there are different things you'll have to learn. Their software, their technical jargon. I mean, I came from the Department of Defense to the USDA, and the acronyms that I had to relearn, because the Department of the Defense uses the same acronym, but has a completely different meaning from what the USDA has. So the USDA has an acronym that marries up to the one at the Department of Defense, but it's for a completely different section, direction, employment, jargon, and you have to like wipe your slate clean and start again. But you don't ever have to forget it. Every job I've had, I have a list. I make a list of all of the acronyms that I need, along with the spelling of them, and then what they mean to that employer. So during my tenure at the different departments that I worked for in the Department of Defense, I wrote down lists and made notes for myself, and I've kept them all these years, because I never know if I'm going back to the Department of Defense. Just because I left for 3 years to work for the USDA doesn't mean there's not an opportunity for me to go back and get my secret security clearance and work for the Department of Defense. So keeping documentation like that up to date is extremely important, especially if you're switching jobs or if you're a contractor. So if you don't work for a regular company and you are always changing jobs, and contractors come and go, you can be working for a contract one day and then they up and say, oh, the contract's been bid on by somebody else, and now you're going to have to move jobs. And it's really scary. So either you can stay with the new company that's coming in, or you can go ahead and change and completely resign and change direction. There's nothing good or bad about that. It's up to you, it's your comfort level, and it's what you want to do for the rest of your life. All right, so we're going to take a look at my resume. This is I was going to do a screen share, but for TikTok, it's super, super hard to do. So the first thing I want to look at is, let's look at how I've got my name. So it is up here at the top. It is Shelly Karingla. It is where I live. I don't put my full address because a lot of the positions I'm applying for, they just want to know the city and state. I do put my phone number, and then I put my email address. Having this information at the very top is super important to any position, because they are looking for your information, because that's how they're going to contact you. They want your phone number. They want your email address. It's just extremely important. And make sure it's all correct. Make sure there's no issues with any of the information. Okay, the next part of your resume is going to say summary. So this should be a section about you and what's important for your next career move, or what you want to do, or what you're looking for within the company. So I've changed it a few times in my lifetime because at different stages of my life, I wanted something different. I needed something different. So right now my summary is my entire career has been based on IT technology, IT project management, business analyst. I'm currently working through my doctorate in computer science with a major in project management. I am looking to continue growth in my education and work development. Telling a company that you are looking for growth is extremely important because a employer does not want to hire a stagnant employee. They want to know you are out there, you want to help the company grow, you want to grow with the company, and it also tells you that you're looking, even though you're getting, say you're applying for an administrative assistant position, that you would take an executive administrative position if it opened and you gave it your all. So it kind of tells the company, hey, I'm going to do A, B, and C, and this is what I want. I want growth. I want to continue my education. I want to move forward with your company. There's a lot. If you Google a summary for a resume, you can go out there and find a lot of information helpful. You can you need to taper it to whatever you're looking for in your career. All right, the next section is education and certifications. Here's where you're going to list. You want to list your degree. Your most recent degree is going to be the first one. And then the school you attended, what your GPA was, and the date of graduation or when you will graduate. So they want to know, when did you graduate? Are you still working towards it? On mine, I always put in progress if I'm working for something. So I right now am in progress working towards my doctorate degree. It's super exciting. You know, it's something you need to put in there. Let the customer know. Then you're going to go through the rest. So it'll be like your master's degree, your bachelor's degree, your associate's. If you took any technical college classes, I went to tech school first. So I put my 2 diplomas that I received. All of this is pertinent information and needs to be at the top so that they know what your education level is, what you have done. They can look through your resume and see that, you know, each job, what you've done, but they don't know what kind of education you have until you let them know. So my next thing is my certificates. I always list my certificates under my education because it's part of my education, right? So you should always continue your education. If your company has does the payback, do that. Go ahead and take your college, turn in your grades to them, get your money reimbursed. They're paying for your schooling. You can't ask for a better benefit. I used that all through my career, not my doctorate, but all the way through my bachelor's. The companies that I worked for, they paid for my education. I got free education. So you can't beat that. That's definitely a bonus when you're looking for companies. And even when you're older, until you retire, this is what's going to set us above the younger generation. We need to make sure that we keep up on our certificates. Well, new certificates are coming out. Google is an amazing place to go to find free certificates. They offer free business analyst certificates. They offer free Scrum Master certificates. They offer networking certificates. All of this looks amazing when you're applying, especially because you're going to put the year of your certificate. They want things that are up to date. So last year I got I'm a certified Scrum Master, and it's in my resume. I wanted to make sure I put that in there because that was super important, and it was difficult, and it took a lot of time, but you should be proud of everything that you do, and make sure you put it on your resume. Make sure it's out there. Let people know that you're making the effort, and if you're making the effort, then they want that person, right? So now you've got the experience, plus you're getting your certificates. Wow. You know, I might want to hire Joe. He seems to be doing a really great job. Okay, so the next thing is my professional. Hey, Melissa, how are you, hon? The next thing you want is your professional experience. All right, so this is your jobs. These are what you've done in your life, you know, from the most recent all the way back to the 10 years that we talked about. You want to tell them what you've done. You want to make sure that you have all your T's and I's, your T's crossed, your I's dotted. You want to list what you performed on a regular day. Anything special? Did you get to work on a special project with someone? Did you get to work with another team that shows cross-functionality? There's so many things that you can see, and you know, these employers are looking for that. They want cross-functionality. You know, Tom on another team, he might be out for a year because of something that happened. So they want somebody who's able to go ahead and be in that other position and can do both positions at the same time, probably without added pay. I've done that a million times, but at least you've got job security, right? So that's something that we're looking for as we age. We want job security. We want to retire. We'd like to stay with the company for the rest of our lives so that we can afford to retire. All right, so that's job and professional experience. The next thing, make sure you only go back 12 years. Try not to put, you know, and let's talk about gaps for a minute. Everyone has a gap in their resume. So what I do as a gap filler is I will look back and see how long that gap is, because employers don't want to see gaps. But if there is a gap, just put it in there. Don't even, you know what, just leave it out of your resume completely. It was probably the best idea there. And then when they ask, explain it to them. I had a baby. I was laid off. I didn't have, you know, I was unable to work during this period of time, and this is why. Employers want honesty. They want you to be upfront. They want you to be honest. They want you to not use AI and talk to them, because that's a huge thing right now, but we'll talk about that in another day coming up. I've seen some crazy, insane videos and actually had an issue where somebody in my company did that, and it wasn't the same person we hired. So we will definitely talk about that at a later date. All right, so once you get through your 10 years or less of your of all of your lifetime of work, you're going to go ahead and put any other skills that you might have. So anything special you've ever done. I call it my skills and ability section. So did you get to work on a new machine? Did you get to work with some robotics? Did you do programming? And if so, list the programming software that you used. You know, were you programming in Java? Anything that you've done. SQL. A lot of companies look for SQL. A lot of companies, especially if you're doing development, they want to know, is it UI? Is it back end? Are you doing middleware? What exactly have you been up to? Because they're looking for specific words, right? And this is something that we're going to touch on as soon as I'm done talking about this. But there are so many different things, and make the list long. If you want to, make it paragraph style. I always list it with bullets. I'm a big bullet person because I want the person to go directly to what they're looking for. If you put it in a paragraph, it could get jumbled up in there, but if you're putting it in a list, also, if they're looking for specific software or a specific terminology, make sure you take that and you bullet point it first. Like I said, change your resume as you're working to what you want, what the company's looking for. Okay, so a lot of companies now are using software to pull out terminology to pull your resume, which is, to me, it's kind of sad, but because there's nobody actually taking a look at your resume until they pull it out with the terminology software. So the government does this a lot of big companies do this. So they're looking for certain words, right? It's like a word play. So if in the actual ad, it says, I'm looking for someone that can code in CSSP, Java, SQL, blah, 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 blah. They are actually going through your resume, and the software is pulling those words out. Now, if you're a complete match, it will put it in one bin, and if you're not a complete match, it'll put it in another bin, which you probably won't get a call back. But the government does this too, the Department of Defense. Whenever you go on to actually work for like a government entity, so the IRS, even teaching positions, anything that's out there that's under a .gov site, they're using the software and pulling out terminology. And it's not always listed in the ad. So you have to make sure you put every piece of information that you can think of that you've worked on previous projects into the resume and into the sections that they're asking you to type out, and take the time to do it. Okay, I know we're in a hurry. I know we've already applied for 200 positions. It gets depressing. We're stressed out. We're still trying to figure out, how to get a job. But if you take the time and you actually put the information in there, you will get pulled and you will get a call. I promise you. I've seen it happen 1,000 times. And they're great jobs. Right now, there's a government hiring freeze for a lot of the departments, but that's due to the DOGE, and soon that will be released. The only place that I know that isn't on a hiring freeze is, like I said, Department of Defense. A lot of the money that they pulled from other funds like USDA got put into that pile. That way they can expand on that, and I'm sure, there's a lot of important, I worked for the Department of Defense for years, and there's a lot of important things that happen behind the scenes. There really are. And the technology there isn't as up to date as we'd like to see it, or we would think it is. When we think of government, it's like we watch movies and it's robots and all this cool stuff. Really, it's 100,000 people just sitting there typing on their computers, trying to figure out how to update their software without having issues and going through the government because it costs money and then you get denied. So that is my resume writing skills I wanted to talk about today. I do, if you private message me, or I'm on LinkedIn. If you go to LinkedIn, you will see my resume. You can, and I have no problem with anyone, if you want to use the format, please do. Please do, because like I said, I paid somebody $500 to help me back in the day, and anyone who needs it is more than welcome to use it, because I don't want anyone else to pay that kind of money. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But I have gotten good jobs off of it, so I can't really complain. I've definitely made my $500 back tenfold. But it's a game out there right now. There's so many people that are without jobs, that have been laid off for different reasons. Not even just DOGE, just downsizing and costs of living, and it's ridiculous right now. And it's not just one place. It is all over. It's all over. It's all over the United States. And there isn't, anyone, the way I feel it right now is there isn't anyone safe. There's no safety nets. It's just, what are we going to do? What are we going to do tomorrow? What are we going to do for the rest of our lives? Who knows? But all I know is we are too young to retire. So we have to find something, if that's opening up our own small business. I want to talk about that later next week, is small businesses. And I'm looking at opening up 2 small businesses while I'm in between positions. and also looking at possibly going into a different category of work altogether. Yes, I've worked in IT my whole life, but is that my passion? I used to ask my college students, what do you want to be when you grow up? That was my favorite question. These kids are some of them are my age, and it's like, oh, I don't know. Well, we need to find out what you want to be so that I can find out if you're in the right class. Because if you're not passionate about your work, then this is probably not what you want to do. We want to be passionate. We want to have great jobs. We're close to retirement. We want to enjoy life. We want to take a vacation. I mean, it's just life. It's just life. And while we're working, we never think about that. But when we have time off, we think about it all the time. Like, why didn't I take that vacation last year? So when I got laid off a couple weeks ago, I realized I had over 80 hours of leave because I never took a vacation. I never did anything like that. And it was because I throw myself into work. And I think that we need to take a step back sometimes and really look at ourselves and go, maybe it's time for that vacation. Maybe it's time to go see our kids that don't live with us anymore. Maybe it's time for a break. But when you're looking for a job, that's kind of hard to think about. I did see a gentleman the other day on LinkedIn, and I felt so bad for him. He's probably around 55, and of course he's too young to retire. And he's been in the job search for 8 months and can't find anything. And I just want to go, why? Why can't you find anything? Because you're not doing it right. You're not reaching out to recruiters. You're not talking to people. You have to, when you get laid off or you quit your job or you don't have a job to start with, you need to go out, and the first thing you need to do is get a group. You need to find a group of people who talk to each other about the same thing you're doing, and they can help you. They can guide you to finding a job. Like me, I'm a recruiter girl. I reached out to a recruiter from 11 years ago, and she still remembered me. She was like, oh my gosh, Shelly, you don't have a job? She's like, let's look and see what we have. Let's get you in for interviews. That, to me, is the most important aspect of finding a job, is reaching out to the people that can help you. And call them. I mean, I don't talk to her daily, but we have a meeting once a week, and she gives me all the updates on everything that she put me in for, and she is wonderful. She's like, it's always such a pleasure to talk to you. So if you take the time and reach out to people and update your resume and get it out there, not necessarily through the LinkedIn easy apply. I always choose to go, and I talked about this yesterday, I always choose to go to the website. And there's a reason I choose to go to the website. If you go to the LinkedIn apply, they don't actually ever really look at your resume, right? So if you look up when you go to hit the apply and you look up and you get to that page where it says easy apply, they don't tell you how many people have applied for that job. And most of it says over 100. Do you think that you're going to be seen? No, not likely. But if you go to the website, you create a profile, then you're able to look at all the jobs that they have open that they may not necessarily be advertising on LinkedIn, or that you've missed, or that's out there and nobody knows about it. Those are important. That is an important step to do. Don't be lazy. It's not like we don't have time on our hands. That's all we have right now. Yes, by doing it, it keeps you busy, so you're not getting depressed. Because let me tell you, if I wasn't staying busy right now, I would be sleeping, I'd still be in my jammies, I wouldn't have showered, I would be depressed and eating. But you know what? I have things to do. I get up every morning, I make sure I turn on my computer, I look at my emails to see if anyone's replied. I go into LinkedIn, I check out all the new positions, I tag people, I look at certain things, and I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Don't miss something, because if you miss one email, you may not have a position. You may not have a position. And thank people. If somebody sends you an email, make sure you write a little thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to send me the email that you're reviewing my application. I mean, at least there's a person there and you can talk to them. Thank you. I get emails all the time from recruiters that aren't in my wheelhouse. I just got one right before I jumped on here. It was for an electronic technician in Oldsmar, Florida, which I'm sure people know. I live in Georgia, but I can go to Tampa. I've got family in Tampa that I can work at Tampa if I need to or stay with them. But it's like, I don't know. I can't do that position. But wait, let me send this to Johnny, who I know can do this position and might need work. By doing that, you create that circle of life. And then Johnny will come across ones for you, and they will send it back to you. And then you will have a greater circle to find a job, to find something in your wheelhouse that you want to do. Because I don't want to go work at McDonald's. I did that when I was 15. I've been there, I've done that. It wasn't a bad job, but I didn't just work my tush off for the last 25 years to start back there. If I didn't have a house and I didn't have car payments and I didn't have mouths to feed, I wouldn't worry about it. I would go back there. But because I don't want to, I'm not going to make that choice. You don't have to say, I'm going to take the job, even if it's in front of you. You don't have to. You don't have to say, I'm going to take $45,000 less than I know that position is for. You don't have to do that. There was a job I applied for not too long ago, I think it was earlier this morning, and it said, are you comfortable with $44 an hour being a program manager? And I clicked, no, I don't want to do the job of 80 hours a week for $44 an hour. And if you think you're going to find somebody decent to fill that position, you're not. You're going to have to train someone from scratch. And that takes time and money and effort. And if you do have, like I said, a public trust, or a secret clearance or a top secret clearance, put that on your resume. Put that on your resume and bold it, because companies look for that. They look, especially the Department of Defense or government contractor, they want, if you have that, you're saving them tons of money, because it costs $10,000 a person to get that credential. And a clearance will stay inactive, sitting attached to your name for 2 years. So you have 2 years to find a position or a company that can reattach your security clearance to you. And that makes a big deal. Some companies will give you more money if you already have a clearance, because it's saving them so much. And these are little things that people don't know. They have no clue about, but it's important to know. It's important. Oh, and one more thing, letters of recommendation. Anytime you leave a position on a good term, if you're laid off, if you are resigning, anything, get letters of recommendation. I've got a letter of recommendation, at least one from each of the different places I work for. And if I work government, I don't go to my company and ask for a letter of recommendation. I go to my government entity, because that's who I worked for. That's who I talked to. Those are the ones that mattered. My company just held a contract and put me in a billet. The person that I worked for is that person that's still got a job working for the government. And that is the person that knows I gave 200% for the position. And I have not had one person ever turn it down. Actually, the last one I just got a couple weeks ago made me cry. Because you never know how somebody actually sees you until you're gone. And they write that letter of recommendation. And it's not, a pre-typed out one. It's not, oh, here you go, Shelley, and I sign it, It is something that comes from them and from, their heart. And you just don't realize how much you've meant to somebody until you leave. They say that same thing about dying. You never know, you never miss anyone till they're gone. So it's the same thing. And then, we go through another thing that relates to dying and losing your job are the grieving steps, right? We grieve our job. So the first day that people lost their job, we found out on a Friday that we lost our job. And then Monday, everyone had to be gone. So Friday, everyone was in shock, right? Everyone was just shocked. Nobody's seen it coming. We weren't warned about it. It just, boom, you're not going to have a job after Monday. You need to transfer all your files. You need to do blah, 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 blah. You got a list of things to do. And everyone, I swear, I think they just left Friday. I didn't leave because I got work ethic. But everyone else was just gone because they were so upset and astonished that they couldn't even work. They couldn't even stay for the day to finish it out. And I understand it. And then Monday comes, and now you've got to transfer all these documents, clean your computer out, because on Tuesday, you can't boot your computer up. You can't turn it on. You can't do anything. And, the expectations of people that want this is unrealistic, especially because I was working two separate jobs at the same time for the same company. Of course, I wasn't getting any more pay. But I had taken a promotion, and anyway, so I had to choose between uploading either this information and meeting with this team or uploading this information and meeting with this team, and I chose the most, the human resource lady actually called me and said, listen, Shelley, you have to figure out which one is more important. And I'm like, I have to decide between what is more important documentation to upload and to meet with. I actually asked her, I said, where's our overhead? Where's the overhead for the company? It was a $56 million contract. Why are we being pushed out without having at least 2 days to get our stuff done, especially for people like me that had 2 different jobs? But they're unprepared. When they get the notice, they're in shock. So they're right, the poop rolls downhill, and then the people at the bottom like us, we just sit there and go, okay. Instead of being mad this time, though, I threw myself into doing a lot of different things, talking more about people losing their jobs, talking to other friends that, that have lost their jobs and trying to make it. I have one lady, she's 6 months to retirement. 6 months, and they let her go. So what does she do? She has to look and see, can I afford to stay for 6 months? It is what it is. Everyone has their own fight and their own battle. But the people that still want to work, we need to find jobs. We need to find jobs. We need to take the time, go back, even if it's been a couple weeks and you didn't get a letter of recommendation, go back and request one. Most of the people that you worked for previously, they will give you a letter of recommendation. They will, just because they feel bad that you were laid off. You were, removed from the company. So the changes that are being made right now, I'm sure will make our economy stronger down the road. But until then, we need to find jobs. And that is our goal. And that's why I'm here and I'm talking to everybody and trying to help as many people as I can. My email address I put in a previous message, but I'm going to go ahead and add it here. Anyway, so if anyone wants to send me a copy of their resume, I'd be happy to look at it. I have taught resume writing classes, and sorry, and as long as I don't have to reformat everything and you're willing to do the work, I would be happy to take the time and help you. I've got no problem with that at all. I'm really just out here trying to help people find jobs while I'm doing it, and as I'm learning things, I'm sharing the wealth of knowledge because that's the only way that the next person's going to know any information. Does anyone have any questions or want to talk about anything particular? I'm going to take silence as a no. So if you need anything, please reach out to me. Just shoot me an email. I will be doing another live probably tomorrow or Monday. I will definitely put a notice out for it. But I want to make sure that if anyone's having problems, you can get a hold of me, and I will help you as much as I can. I'm also going to add this to my YouTube channel, so if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to everyone again soon. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a great day, and keep fighting the good fight, and we will be getting jobs soon. I know it. They're coming. Have a great day. Okay.